Hi everyone, my name is Moni.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And today we are going to be doing our final wrap-up video for the Uwe Rosenberg tile laying series.
Yeah, so Monique and I, we played through 5 of Uwe Rosenberg's polyomino tile laying games. If you are interested in seeing any of those, there is a playlist over here where we chronicled all 5 of those games. There is going to be a bonus 6th one that we are going to talk about, but it's a little different than those other 5 games.
And so the reason why we did this is because we're actually preparing for the larger Uwe Rosenberg series, which we are going to be embarking on in a couple of weeks. Those are the bigger box games, I guess?
Yep.
Because it felt kind of strange comparing this series of games to those ones.
Yeah, because some of these tile laying games can be, quick 30-minute games. Some of those can be 2+ hour long, heavy, crunchy games. And so it felt kind of apples and oranges to kind of compare them all.
And so these games were all published between the years of 2014 to, I believe, New York Zoo came out last year, 2020. So they did span a 7-year timeline, I guess, which is pretty impressive for strictly polyomino Tetris piece kind of games, right?
Yep.
Across those years, other kind of games that feature polyomino tiles have been released, such as Isle of Cats, as well as Baron Park, stuff like that. But these are games that are specifically just Tetris-shaped pieces. You put them on a board and you try to fill up the board.
Exactly.
They all have that same basic premise, but just done in a lot of different ways, right? And so what are some things that you have learned, or do you have any kind of like concluding thoughts after playing all these games?
Well, he's definitely a master of it. For somebody to come up with 5 games that basically encompass the same exact components, and he's still just putting them on a board, but he made them different enough when that makes it kind of very, very interesting that somebody can go from games such as Agricola, Le Havre, and those huge games, but also design these other simpler games. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that unless you really, really love, this kind of play style, you don't need them all.
Sure.
Like they all definitely still have the same kind of basic premise. And so you can kind of just pick and choose whichever one has the mechanics or the kind of game style that you enjoy the most. But if you do collect them all, they are all distinct enough to play as different games. And that was the question that we were asking ourselves before we started the series, specifically for the trilogy, the Cottage Garden, Indian Summer, Spring Meadow trilogy. Are they all different enough to consider them separate games? And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, totally.
And it's interesting because you can actually see some of the mechanics from this series in the larger big box games.
Yep, exactly.
Such as A Feast for Odin, which is probably the most obvious of the comparisons, right? And so unless you have anything else to add, we're going to embark on our final ranking.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ready? Okay, so we are going to discuss 6 actually of these games. And we did discuss our rankings beforehand, and they just happen to be the exact same ones.
Yep, they are.
So we'll be doing this together. All right, so starting with our honorable mention, because we actually have one this time around.
We do, yeah.
Yes, and the reason why it's an honorable mention is because it's not quite polyomino tile laying.
No, it's tile laying, but it's not, polyomino, like you said,
This is Sagani. It was a game that we actually made a playthrough video of with the prototype.
Yeah, this is the prototype.
This is the prototype, exactly. And so this does feature tiles, but not in the Tetris-y way. It's not like strangely shaped tiles that you fit together. Yeah,
you're not trying to like lock and key and put different things into certain spots.
Right. You are trying to lay out tiles in an abstract way on your table. And so for that reason, I still consider this kind of one of the tile laying games.
You're still laying tiles, technically. Yes.
Similarly, he also made another game called Nova Luna, which is kind of like the predecessor of this game specifically. We just don't have it.
Right.
But they play very similarly. And between those two, I think I prefer Sagani.
I think we both at the time said Sagani, and I think I still do.
In terms of the rest of the lineup, where would you fit this? If it weren't a kind of like a runner-up or a bonus edition?
Because it's not polyomino, I would probably stick this somewhere in the dead center. Maybe it'd be like number 4 or number 3, somewhere amongst that. I don't know exactly, though.
We'll return to it then, after we finish the whole lineup and see.
Let's do that.
Okay, moving on to number 5. So this is a game that is part of the actual trilogy. And we both had the same opinion of it almost immediately.
Yeah, I think so.
And so this game is
Spring Meadow. Now this one, in a lot of comments, people said this is their favorite one. And so maybe that's why, for me, by reading those comments, I thought that this was going to be the one that stood out the most amongst the 3 of those in that series. But for some reason, this one in particular was the least enjoyable of the 3.
Yeah,
I think it had to do maybe with just the initial just look of the board. It's just that white, and then you're kind of barely putting those greens on, and there's no real dimension in terms of color scheme. So there was that initial just kind of like, oh, because you go from Indian Summer to this.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
the marmots are really cute.
They are cute.
They remind me of Dexter, our dog.
Yeah.
So, but I totally agree. I think that this is a one that was most recently released, aside from New York Zoo. And so, of the three in the series, I imagine that this is the one that would get the most eyes because, you know, the board gaming hobby is growing and growing, right? Otherwise, it just felt not different enough from the first two that we had played, right? Like by the time we got to the third one, we were like, okay, so it does feature a new way of scoring. It does do that kind of like Tetris scoring where you go from the bottom to the top, and that is my absolute favorite part of the game. But other than that, it doesn't do much else. I do like that you have to win a scoring phase, and that is how you essentially win the game. You just win two out of the three essentially
for a 2-player game.
For a 2-player game.
Yeah, for some reason when playing it the first time, it had this kind of bell-shaped curve to it. Like the first time I played it, I had that initial thought of like, I don't really like it that much. Second and third time I played it, I felt like, oh, this is actually better than I initially thought. And then as we played it more, it kind of went back again to that like, okay, this doesn't have that longevity or kind of like this long time staying power.
It's probably because you realized more of the strategy and you're like, oh, it's a little bit better. And then you're like, well, that's actually it. So
yeah, exactly. That's exactly it, yeah.
So anyway, that is our number 5, Spring Meadow.
Yep.
All right, moving on to number 4. So this is a game that we were initially split on. Naveen kind of changed his mind after he heard what my number 4 was.
Yeah, I had it ranked higher, and then I thought about it more, and then we came to an agreement.
And this game is Cottage Garden.
Cottage Garden, yes. This is the first in that Stronghold line of the 3 games.
Yes.
And so this one, there's 2 scoring tracks, and you are basically trying to fill out your board and get that board flipped over and put into the general pool. And you're just basically trying to score as many points as possible.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's good. It looks nice. But the more I thought about it, the more I agree with you on 4. Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the first one of the trilogy. So this is the first time technically that we were able to play a polyomino tile laying game by Uwe Rosenberg that's more than 2 players. Because before this was just patchwork.
Patchwork, yeah.
And then suddenly it's a 4-player game. And so this, you know, the thing that I appreciate about this, specifically the trilogy, is that all 3 of them score differently, right? With Spring Meadow, it was that bottom to top, you have to win a majority of scoring phases. In this one, you're trying to score the most
just
points. You're constantly flipping your fields and just trying to score as many of those as possible. But there's kind of like a mini game in the way that you move your pawn on the scoring tracks. So that's a part of the game itself, right?
I will say what I do like about this game is the fact that you can see all the tiles. They're all laid out for you. So you can kind of math out and figure out like, okay, if I'm able to flip this, then I know that these tiles are going to go out, and that's going to be perfect with my other garden because you're simultaneously managing 2 different gardens. So that part I do enjoy in this game.
Yeah. So I like this game. There's a kind of a larger gap between this one and Spring Meadow, in my opinion. This is the one that if we were to go and play a polyomino tile laying game with your parents, I would bring this one because it has like the prettiest like floral theme to it.
Yeah.
It's not the prettiest in my opinion of all of them, but it definitely has this like really nice like floral look.
It does look good, yeah.
The reason why it was lower on my list specifically is because of the flipping of the squares, like the actual player boards. I prefer my tile laying games with just 1 player board. You try to fill up your own board and that's it.
Okay,
that's kind of how I like to play them. And so that's like a point of preference, but that's why this game wasn't higher on my list.
That's fair. Yeah, I still in my head I'm still thinking would I rank this a little bit higher than some of the other ones, but I think 4 is exactly.
Yeah, why did you bring it lower?
I just thought about the other games and I was like, when we talk about 3 and 2, then I can kind of discuss why I enjoyed those ones a little bit more than this one.
All right, then moving on to number 3. We're kind of blasting through these.
Yeah.
So our number 3 is the final game in the trilogy, and so you probably already know what it is. It is Indian Summer.
Indian Summer. This one is the one that looks the best, I would say, amongst the 3 of those.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, Cottage Garden is pretty in a different way. The reason why I think this one is the prettiest is because it's most colorful
very vibrant,
bold. Yeah, it has the most vibrant color scheme. And after we played the 3rd in that trilogy, I immediately knew that this was going to be my favorite one. And the reason why is because I really like the race element.
Yeah.
So I think that's my preference when it comes to the polyomino tile laying games. I don't like it when you score points. I prefer it where it's just a race.
Yeah,
A race so you can fill their boards.
After we discussed it and you telling me that, I was like, yeah, that's probably right, because there's that competition in this versus, sometimes in a point scoring thing, it's like a tile can work out for you and score you a bunch of points, which is great. But in this one, it's like I'm competing with you. And maybe I want to hate draft that tile from you because I know that'll be the thing that completes your board, And so this game kind of has that element. There's a lot more player interaction also in this game because you can steal other people's tiles.
That's true. And you don't have that in the other ones.
Exactly, yeah. So for that reason, this one then got elevated for me.
And there are also those like bonus chits. And at first, when we were learning the game, I found them kind of difficult to remember, like what they all do. But once you get them all down, it's fun. It's neat. There are a lot of different ways to get you to where you need to be, I guess. So there's a lot of strategy that's involved in Indian Summer. So definitely my favorite of the trilogy, but this falls under number 3.
Yep.
All right, final 2 in our series. Can you imagine? Can you believe we played all these games?
I know.
That's a lot of polyomino tiles.
That's a lot of games.
Okay, so number 2, we were both pretty much in agreement with this through and through. And it's one of the original tile laying games out there.
It makes sense why it's number 2.
Yes, for good reason. It is
a 2-player only game.
Patchwork.
This
game is sort of legendary, like it's on like everybody's best games for 2 players lists, and it's just so well known, right?
It's very well made. It's a simple game, super simple game.
Super simple.
But there is a lot of replayability and a lot of fun with it. And I like the fact that there is a bunch of reskinnings of this. There's like a Christmas one. Did you say there's a Halloween one?
There's a Halloween one coming.
Which,
oh my god, I have
know
to have
she
that.
Wants that. Yeah, so we might swap this one out. I don't know if they changed anything about the gameplay or if it's purely aesthetics.
Aesthetics.
Yeah.
I imagine it would be really hard to touch this design.
Yeah, right? Don't touch it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is 2-player only. And this came out before that trilogy. This is the very first of the the true tiling games of Uwe Rosenberg's entire line. And it's simple but very deep in strategy. If you play against somebody who's really good at this game and they talk through their moves, you'll hear the depth in the strategy. There's a lot of like decision making that has to do with the buttons as a currency.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I spend this many buttons, then I can get this, and it'll only cost amount of time because you're managing the buttons versus time versus the shapes of.
You're also managing the distance on the scoreboard itself because somebody, if they need freebie buttons, they can go all the way out in front and then get a bunch of buttons. And then have enough money or currency to go buy those perfect tiles that are coming up. And so you can see all the tiles that are laying out there, and you can kind of math out, well, Monique cannot buy these 3 right here. So, and I'm only, 1 away from her. So she's only going to net 1 extra button. So, okay, fine. Let me just do this and then put her in a position. I'm
not a big fan of laying out the tiles, by the way. So that tile circle... Yeah. You see that also in Cottage Garden with a hole. And then I think there was one of the games in the trilogy that was like, if you want to, you can lay out the tiles for more strategy. And I was like, no, we're not doing that.
I think that was Spring Meadow, I want to say.
Like we're not going to make it more strategic. We're going to put them all on the lid
and just grab and place. Yeah.
So this does require you to lay out the tiles in a circle, but for other people, it might not bother you.
So would you say this is your least favorite to set up?
Yes.
Okay.
This or Cottage Garden, but it is a really, really good game. This is this does stand the test of time, and I think it will continue to do so as a really solid 2-player in and out kind of game, right?
Yep, totally.
So that is our number 2, Patchwork, which leads us to our number 1, the final game in the series, which you already know what it is.
It is New York Zoo, the most recent release. This one came out, like we said, last year. And this is the one that we covered before we even started this Uwe Rosenberg series.
Yeah. Actually, I think it was the one that we covered before you'd even played Patchwork, because I played Patchwork once before.
No, we had played Patchwork once at a local game store.
Oh, yeah.
Long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am mistaken.
Yeah.
but this is the one that we played pretty much before the rest of them. And it kind of still stuck out. After we played all of these tile games, it's still the one that stuck out from all of them.
I'm wondering if because it was the first one that we played, other than Patchwork, which was a couple years before this, is that why this one stands out the most? But there's no way to change that kind of psychology.
Well, for me, I know why. It's kind of like everything that I loved about all the other games mixed into one, right? It has the race element. In order to win the game, you have to be the first to completely fill up your zoo, essentially. It has the best theme. For me,
definitely the theme is the best in this one, for sure.
I'm not sure if I said it that I thought Patchwork was the best theme. If I said that, then I was wrong. This is the best theme. Patchwork has the second best theme because it's cute and it's rethemable. But this one with all of the animal meeples, oh, it's so cute.
It is. I know you said Patchwork is your least favorite to set up. This one is my least favorite to set up.
Yeah, you have to separate all the tiles by color.
Several tiles by color, and they're all shades of green.
Yes.
And then you have to stack them.
That's right.
Perfectly on top of each other. And so setting this one up is not the best, but it's the only way to get it set up, is you have to do it in this kind of manner.
Just put the different shades of green in different bags, and then you're fine. Otherwise, it also has some good player interaction because of the way that you breed. So you can kind of see where everybody's animals are on their board.
Yep.
And then you go around the track, and then you can trigger breeding when it's not convenient for other people.
Totally.
Right?
Yes, that is a very good part of the game.
You can see which tiles are available on that actual board. I just think it's like a way more streamlined version of what the other games were getting at. It plays well at any player count.
It does, yeah.
At 2 players, I would probably only do for me, for a 2-player game, I would only do the quick setup.
The quick setup,
kind of like the quick rules that I think we played that way.
Yeah, it just kind of gets you into the game a little faster. There's less stuff that you have to cover up, and you're basically not just going around the board, a couple more rounds.
Yeah, it doesn't extend the game out for too much longer when doesn't necessarily have to be extended out that way.
I like the fact that there's that option.
So in the end, if I had to choose one to keep, it is New York Zoo, our number one. So there you have it. That is our final ranking for all of these games.
You wanted to know where Sagani sat?
Oh yeah, where does Sagani sit?
Where does Sagani sit? Sagani is probably 4 for me. I think it's below Indian Summer, but above Cottage Garden. I think. How about yourself?
Interesting. I would say mine would be after Cottage Garden, before Spring Meadow.
Oh, okay. So lower.
A little bit lower. I do like Cottage Garden more than I like Sagani, but definitely better than Spring Meadow. So
that's fair.
And last but not least, what game would you bring to game night?
Oh, what game would I bring to game night? I'm definitely
not necessarily New York Zoo.
It's not New York Zoo. It's actually not New York Zoo. I would bring Indian Summer to game night. Yeah. Because of the fact that we said it plays best at the full complement player count, so that's game night, obviously. And then also because there is player interaction in that game, there is that race element of I'm just trying to complete everything before you do. Yeah. And I love the fact that you can steal other people's tiles as they're getting closer to their backpack. How about yourself?
Well, I'm boring. I would just bring New York Zoo, our number one.
Yeah.
Because of everything I already mentioned. That one's my favorite through and through. And so there you have it. That concludes our Uwe Rosenberg tile laying series. We are not going to be talking about polyomino tile games ever again on this channel.
Probably until the next one comes out. Yeah.
And so next up on the horizon are the big box games, which we have been waiting months and months to start. Although we may end up, we haven't decided yet, but we may end up starting with a Bonanza style game, if you're familiar with that game.
That's right.
Because that was another one of his really early popular designs.
So, not a big box, but we're calling it the big box series.
We'll see. Yeah. So stay tuned to find out what happens.
Well, thank you so much for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you do have any opinions as to where you would rank all the games relative to us, please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to check it out. And if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future and want to follow along on the next set of Uwe Rosenberg games, please consider subscribing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.